Mr. Angel sat next to me on the park bench. Mr. Angel smiled at me, although I couldn't tell. It was a rainy day, but we didn't care. He was probably just wanting to rest after a busy day. We weren't alone, though. I pointed to an old man that sat across from us on a different bench. "What's he doing, Mr. Angel?" An unlit cigarette sat in the corner of the man's mouth. His eyes were withered with age as he stared blankly at seemingly nothing. Mr. Angel leaned close to me as he whispered into my ear.
"He's looking for a woman that he lost long ago."
His words felt warm against my cheek. I smiled and looked up at him. I always loved his secrets because Mr. Angel knew everything about anything. "That's really sad, Mr. Angel. Couldn't you do something to help him, though?" I couldn't see it, since he had no facial expressions, but he was smiling. He got up and walked silently over to the old man. He set a single, long, bony finger in the center of his chest before he turned away and took his seat back next to me. I tugged on the back of his shroud that he always wore. "What did you just do, Mr. Angel?" I could hear Mr. Angel sigh tiredly as he leaned against the scythe that he always carried.
"I sent him back to his woman. I took her a long time ago, and she's getting very lonely now."
I looked at the old man, and he was hunched over. His legs were clutched painfully against his heart. His face looked like it was clamped shut, and I could hear him wheezing and fighting for life. "Mr. Angel, what did you do to him? That's not helping at all!" But Mr. Angel just sat silently as he watched the man suffer. I made tiny fists and tried to pound on him pathetically, but I found empty cold air instead. A tear began to crawl down my cheek. "Mr. Angel! Mr. Angel! Damn it, do something!" The tears dripped below my eyes as I buried my head into my lap and wept. I turned and looked at the old man's body. It had gone stiff by now, and his face didn't look like it was seized. His face didn't look alive. It was seized tight and shut. He wasn't desperately clutching at his chest anymore. He was just lying on his back with his hands neatly set against his heart. His face looked relieved, calm, content. I slid off the park bench and got on my hands and knees. Any moment now, that old cadaver would spring up and laugh in my face, and I wanted to think that it was some kind of horrible joke. I wish somebody was laughing, but all I heard was the peace that follows a solemn death. I loomed over the body as a tear drop landed on his skin. I didn't know what to do. "But please, just get up. Please get up, please. Come on." I shook his shoulder, but nothing happened. Get up, please." I rested my palm alongside the man's hands. Nothing. No heartbeat.
"The old man is where he should be now."
I heard an old voice coo beside me.
"He's happy now."
His words whistled against my skin. I looked behind me and Mr. Angel was watching from the park bench. "You killed him!" I screamed at him. I was breathing hard, and the feeling in my legs was disappearing. Mr. Angel got up from the parking bench and walked over to me. He knelt down, and I could feel his shroud move over me in a warm embrace. I looked up, and Mr. Angel's blank face stared pleasantly down at me. He gripped his scythe lightly in one hand, and with the other hand cupped my shoulder. I couldn't see it, but I just knew he was smiling. "Death?" My voice was still hoarse, as I had choked on a few tears. "Did you really help him?" Death looked at me and leaned close.
My dear little one,
He whispered.
death can be many things. Death can be hard. Death can be painful. Death will someday be at your heels. But never forget, the best thing to do when death greets you is embrace him as a long-lost friend.
He pulled me closer to him, and I could feel his shroud wrap around me. It felt warm and cozy. It was so nice to be close to death.
Now, don't you call me death again. I'm an angel, remember?
I laughed at him and wiped a tear away. Because you bring people to heaven, right? He only nodded. Mr. Angel, you're my best friend, right? My breathing stopped, and his smile was gone. The shroud felt cold as it caressed my skin.
Yes. Yes. I was your best friend.